there may not be a player in baseball history who was more beloved by fans across the league than Mike Thorman. Not only did he have one of the most consistently great careers in history, but was quoted by many fans and teammates to be the greatest catcher of all time. But why do fans love Mike Thorman so much? Why does he get more appreciation than most other players? Well, maybe it's because he was very kind to everyone he met, was the life of the party, gave his teammates helpful batting tips during practice, donated over 50% of his yearly earnings to charities and foundations for young children, always knew how to lift people up during their slumps, and was always honest and humble during interviews. Perhaps that's why everyone loved him so much. But this story begins before he joined the major leagues. Thorman's reputation as a kind, humble guy started back when he was in college. Before he was drafted, Mike played baseball for Utah State and was voted the best player on the team by all his teammates. After games, he would celebrate his success by hiking strenuously up the Wasatch Mountains near Salt Lake City. He was always early to batting practice, bought everyone food before the game, would use his sense of humor to make his teammates laugh, and put on a show in the batting cages. Utah fans loved him to the point where he began making statewide headlines. He even got to take pictures with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. This all happened because he was simply good at baseball and had an uplifting personality. However, during that summer, he was drafted in the second round by the Cincinnati Reds. Mike quickly began making his way up through the minors, leaving a major impact on each team he played for. When he played for Chattanooga Lookouts, he got along so well with head coach Jose Moreno that he was allowed to show up to practice whenever he wanted. No other player was allowed to do this. At one point, while playing for the Louisville Bats, he had an OPS over 1,200 in July of 2023. He also spent time with teammate Connor Capel. The two were often seen having drinks after games in which the team won. They were also workout buddies during practice and often talked about the chance to play on the big league squad as teammates. In interviews after his retirement, Thorman calls back to this season, saying it was one of the best times of his life. This was a time when Mike also started giving batting tips to struggling teammates. This was actually effective and the team began winning more games. He quickly earned the nickname Papa Bear due to his large size and love for hugging teammates. In September of that year, Mike would get called up to the Reds after Tyler Stevenson suffered a concussion. Even if the time was short, this was a big chance for him to make an impact on the team. Mike Thorman made his big league debut on September 8th against the Seattle Mariners. Many Reds fans eagerly watched as the big man stepped to the dish for the first time. He struggled in his first game, going 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. But in his next game, he got his first major league hit and would hit his home run later that night. Mike played 16 total games in September and played pretty well in the short sample size. However, the Reds as a team weren't very good and finished third in the NL Central Division with 79 wins. Having Elly De La Cruz, Andrew Abbott, and Mike Thorman definitely made the future bright for the team. In 2024, Thorman made the Reds' opening day starting lineup and played very well throughout the year. This was his official rookie season since he didn't play enough games in 2023 to qualify for the award. He barely missed out on the All-Star game by a few votes, although he did win National League Rookie of the Year and won his first Gold Glove as a catcher. Just before the end of September, Thorman suffered an ACL injury while running to first base and was expected to miss a few months of the following MLB season. He would return in the last week of May in 2025, although the injury recovery didn't seem to affect him because he played well again for the Reds, who almost missed the postseason again. 3 weeks before the season's end, the Reds were only a few games from elimination, but something amazing happened. They won all 14 remaining games and won the NL Central title. Elly De La Cruz and Thorman were the main contributors during this stretch, and now the Reds had a chance to shock the world in the playoffs. Mike and the Reds played well in the wildcard series against Milwaukee, but ultimately flopped in the division series against the Atlanta Braves. Not many Reds fans were disappointed by the loss because the team was finally beginning to meet expectations, and this was a good sign moving in 2026. The next season, Thorman was healthy and very productive both on and off the field. On the field, he batted .277, crushed 37 home runs, and drove in over 100 runs batted in. He took home his first Silver Slugger, his second Gold Glove, made the All-Star team for the first time, and finished 13th in MVP voting. The Reds returned to the playoffs again. Thorman played well in the 3-game series, but it wasn't enough. Cincinnati's playoff run was short-lived again. This time they were sent home in the first round against the rival Chicago Cubs. Thorman only had 2 years left before he hit free agency, and he was determined to help the Reds get to the World Series, no matter what it took. Thorman was great again in 2027, batting over 300 and slugging over 30 home runs again. He took home another Gold Glove, his second Silver Slugger, made the All-Star team again, and finished top 10 in MVP voting. The Reds made the playoffs again and actually had a solid run. They beat the Marlins in the Wild Card Series, swept the first-place Dodgers in the Divisional Series, and put up a big fight against the Cubs in the League Championship Series. In Game 5 of the NLCS, Thorman came up to the plate in the 9th inning and hit a walk-off home run that put the Reds in position to go to the World Series. All they had to do was win Game 6. However, the Cubs' offense came alive in Games 6 and 7, scoring a combined 21 runs against Reds pitchers. Chicago won the pennant and ended the Reds season for the second year in a row. This was a serious blow for the Reds because they had all the momentum after Thorman's home run, but lost it almost immediately. Thorman only had 1 year left on his contract, so he only had one shot left to get the Reds to a championship. But on December 9th, the Reds worked out a trade that involved sending Thorman to the Cleveland Guardians. Just like that. He was heading to the other baseball team in Ohio. However, Mike was only on the Guardians on a 1-year deal. Even though he had new teammates and coaches, he made his presence known almost immediately. Like his time in Cincinnati, Thorman often showed signs of kindness to his teammates. He also had his best season to date. He finally hit over 40 home runs and had a 1051 OPS. He won his 3rd Silver Slugger in a row, but finished 2nd in the Gold Glove voting. He also finished 2nd in voting for the Hank Aaron Award and 4th in AL MVP voting. But despite all this success, Thorman did get in some conflict with one of his teammates, Jamal Perez. Jamal was often jealous of Mike's warm embrace from everyone on the team. Perez would often fat shame him and called him a fat N-word. Thorman didn't fight back because he didn't want to build a hostile or aggressive reputation. Instead, he would ignore Perez's cruel remarks and jokes and would never speak to him in the clubhouse. He then decided it wouldn't hurt to show kindness towards Jamal, even if he was receiving hateful comments in return. These cruel comments against Thorman eventually came to a halt when manager Matt Holliday threatened to have Jamal released from the team if he didn't start treating his teammate with respect. He would never speak to Thorman ever again. The Guardians won 86 games, good enough to clinch a wildcard spot. Thorman struggled at first, batting 197 in the wildcard series, but he quickly got hot in the division series against the Rangers, which Cleveland would beat them in 4 games to move on to the ALCS. This was Thorman's chance to finally help his team clinch the AL pennant. However, their fun died out quickly as the Baltimore Orioles dominated the series in 5 games and sent Mike and the Guardians packing. Once again, Thorman came close to a World Series, but couldn't finish what he started. Thorman became a free agent and knew that many teams were going to offer him large contracts. He said in an interview that the amount of money didn't matter to him. Instead, he was interested in signing with a team long-term so that he could finally settle down for a while and be able to raise his children and spend more time with his wife. The Yankees were the first team calling and offered him an 8-year, $215 million contract. Mike would agree to this deal and soon put on the pinstripes. At the time of the signing, Thorman was one of the best players in baseball and hadn't even reached his prime yet. The next 7 seasons with the Yankees would be some of the greatest seasons by any player in MLB history. On opening day, Thorman and the Yankees would face the Guardians. Before the game, Thorman shook hands with his former teammates and received a golden bottle of champagne from his former manager, Matt Holliday. Mike responded by hitting a go-ahead home run later in the game. Holliday smiled as Mike rounded the bases and went out for drinks after the game. This is just one good example of how great Thorman's relationship was with everyone he met. Thorman absolutely raked again during the entire season. He hit a whopping 57 home runs, slugged .693, had an OPS over 1100, and had a staggering 13.1 wins above replacement. Mike made the starting lineup at the All-Star game for the first time in his career. He was awarded American League MVP, as well as the Hank Aaron Award, another Gold Glove and Silver Slugger award. The Yankees clinched the #1 seed in the postseason and would lay waste to the land. They would sweep the Texas Rangers in the division series and beat the Astros in 5 games to advance to the World Series. Thorman was finally going to the World Series. The Yankees would go on to beat the NL champion Dodgers in 6 games, winning their first title in 20 years and their 28th all-time in franchise history, with a World Series championship in his resume. Thorman was the first player to win an MVP award and World Series ring in the same season since Corey Seager in 2023. He also accomplished more than thousands of players have done before he even turned 30 years old. Thorman was interviewed by 60 Minutes when asked how he felt about the World Series victory. He said, quote unquote, "I didn't win this championship for myself. These fans have long awaited a title and I owe it to them. Steinbrenner is paying me far more than I deserve, and helping this team win a championship is me simply trying to prove myself worthy of my contract and to the fans." The interview was shared on X, as well as Instagram, and Yankees fans absolutely praised him for it. The next season was more or less the same. Mike was dominant again. He hit 58 home runs, drove in 156 RBIs, had a wins above replacement over 12, and his OPS was over 1,000 for the third season in a row, making him the most valuable player in the American League for the second time in his career. I'd also like to point out that at this point in his career, Thorman played 975 games as a catcher and has made only 4 career errors. Yes, you heard that right. He made over 9,000 putouts and had almost 600 career assists while only had 4 errors. That is absolutely insane. It's no wonder he won Gold Gloves every single year. New York would make the playoffs again and storm their way to their 29th World Series championship. Mike was awarded World Series MVP for his amazing performance and got to participate at the Japanese All-Star event at Tokyo's new stadium. He went deep off pitcher Kazuhito Watanabe during the game, and they shook hands after the United States defeated Team Japan. Thorman took Watanabe and a few other Japanese players on a trip to the Bahamas and was even given his own Japanese name. He was given the name Akimitsu, which means a big bright light. Just when you thought things couldn't get any better for Thorman, they did. He would have his best season ever in 2031. In April, he hit 4 home runs in a game against the Rays. He received a standing ovation after he hit number 4. 2 days later, he hit his 300th career home run. He became only the 8th catcher in history to reach 300 home runs. He would receive an ovation again. Fans never stopped showing Mike love and support because he always gave them a reason to. In July, Thorman participated in the Home Run Derby at Great American Ballpark and was praised by loud cheers and an applause. He destroyed the competition and won the Derby trophy, which he gave to his parents. After the Derby was over, Thorman stated in an interview, quote, "I chose to participate in the Derby this year because I wanted to give something memorable for Reds fans that I feel was long overdue. It was never about being the best home run hitter, but rather giving Cincinnati something to remember forever." When the interview was televised, Mike again was given mostly positive feedback from fans on social media. He made the starting lineup for the All-Star game and was loudly cheered by Reds fans when his name was called. Thorman smashed a home run during the game off Giants pitcher Casey Mize, and fans chanted his name as he rounded the bases. Thorman stayed hot in the second half of the season and finished with an American League season record of 63 home runs. He also drove in 178 runs, batted .342, slugged .732, had an OPS above 1100, and had a WAR of 14.4. He'd take home the MVP award for the 3rd time. No player had done this since Barry Bonds in the early 2000s. He also won his first ever batting title and 6th Gold Glove award. His career OPS at this point was at 1,000 exactly. The Yankees would clinch the first seed in the playoffs as expected, but fell to the Minnesota Twins in the ALCS and were unable to defend their title. However, Yankees fans weren't too heartbroken over the loss since they had just won 2 World Series championships the years prior. Aside from this disappointing outcome, Thorman walked out and congratulated the Twins by shaking their hands. This showed that he was not only nice, humble, and respectful, but that he showed great sportsmanship. Accepting a loss is usually very hard, but Mike accepted his defeat and gave credit to the other team. During that offseason, many fans noticed Thorman's weight gain, and a few speculated that he was taking performance-enhancing drugs. When Mike was interviewed in February, he was asked this.
Some fans across the league have domed some speculating and believe that you are taking performance-enhancing drugs. Have you ever taken steroids at any point while you were playing baseball?
I had a feeling someone would ask me this question. And I mean, I get it. I have gained muscle during the offseason, and it may raise suspicion to people that I may or may not be possibly using steroids. In fact, I am willing to be tested for PEDs and having my test results be made public to prove that my strength is legitimate and have never taken steroids at any time in my life.
Thorman did in fact get himself tested for PED use, and the test results came back negative, further proving his point to the world that he's not a steroid user, although it is obvious that he had gained a bit of weight over his 8 MLB seasons and has increased his bench press by over 100 pounds. There were no steroids involved in his dramatic change. 2032 was another great year for Thorman. He was voted the #1 player in baseball since Ohtani's dealt with injuries the last few seasons. He was given the nickname Thanos by his teammates due to his striking physical resemblance of the Marvel character, and was given an Infinity Gauntlet that had all 6 Infinity Stones. The stars were continuing to align for Mike, and things only got better. In May, the Yankees and Cubs celebrated the 100th anniversary since their epic World Series in 1932. Thorman decided to pay tribute to Babe Ruth by mimicking his batting stance, calling his famous home run shot, then absolutely demolishing a home run. Yankee fans went nuts as he brought the legend of the Bambino back to life. As if this already wasn't wholesome enough, Thorman reportedly donated over 50% of his yearly earnings to charities and foundations across America. Mike was already a dad at this point and knew just how special children's lives were. During the off-season, he would often visit children's hospitals and give gifts to children with cancer. He once raised over $10 million at a charity event he hosted and donated every dollar to children's hospitals across America. Yankees GM Liam Sandberg said that Thorman had a heart of gold and also said that signing him was the best decision he ever made. In August, Thorman hit career home run number 400, surpassing Mike Piazza's record as a catcher with 399. Thorman was the first catcher ever to hit 400 career home runs. He was given a well-deserved ovation in Toronto. Mike took home his 4th consecutive MVP award because he hit 58 home runs, had 154 RBIs, batted .344, had an 1130 OPS, and his WAR was over 13. He was consistently the best player in the league for quite a few years now. In his first 4 seasons with the Yankees, Thorman hit a combined 236 home runs, drove in 647 runs, and had an OPS over 1103 out of those 4 years. The Yankees won the AL East again and would face their rival Boston Red Sox in the division series, down 2-0 and trailing by 2 in the 9th. The Yankees were searching for any answers. Thorman decided to hustle up every player on the team and gave a motivational speech. After his speech was done, the Yankees erupted in the 9th inning, scoring 5 runs and coming back to win Game 3. When the game was over, Mike told his teammates, quote unquote, "We gave them hell out there. You guys watch, we'll be back home for Game 5. Thorman would smash a slam in Game 4, putting New York up 4-0, and they would never look back. Just as he predicted, the Yankees and Sox returned to the Bronx for Game 5. But in Game 5, the Yankees couldn't complete their comeback. Rafael Devers would hit a go-ahead 3-run home run in the 9th inning, ending the Yanks season on one swing. The Red Sox would win the series and move on to Las Vegas to face the Athletics in the League Championship Series. There is no worse feeling to Yankee fans than watching them lose to the Red Sox. Thorman shrugged off the loss and began focusing on the next season. However, during that offseason, something very tragic happened. On February 27th, Mike's younger brother John was killed in an aircraft collision. John was in the United States Air Force and was training for a battle against China. While training, he accidentally collided with another aircraft. This absolutely devastated Mike, and things went downhill very quickly. He fell into such a deep depression to the point where he started seeing a therapist weekly and was taking antidepressants. He also started drinking again. I didn't mention before that Mikey had a huge drinking problem and only stopped when he married his wife. But this depression brought back old habits. In April, he fell into a big slump. By the end of April, he batted .170 and only hit 4 home runs. This came to a head when the Yankees went to Texas in the first week of May, in which Thorman could barely make contact during batting practice and struck out 5 times in one game. After his 5th strikeout, Rangers fans chanted "overrated" as Mike headed into the dugout. This was a low point in his career and things needed to change fast. Fortunately, a silver lining came in the form of a new player. Later that week, the Yankees called up their #1 prospect, Luis Jackson. In his first ever at-bat, Jackson would hit his first career home run. Jackson made a big impact with the bat and was also a great defender. He and Thorman clicked very quickly because they had a lot in common. This new friendship helped with Mike's struggles, and soon, the Mike Thorman that everyone loved was back. Thorman went on an absolute tear in the first half of the season. From May 3rd onward, Thorman hit 26 home runs, batted .370, and his OPS was over 1,200. Despite his explosion in the first half, Mike wasn't even having the best season on the team. Juan Soto had 37 home runs by the All-Star break, and his OPS was over 1,300. It's absolutely crazy when you realize that this Yankees team had by far the most talented rookie in the league and 2 Hall of Famers in their primes. Thorman stayed hot in the second half of the season. By the season's end, he finished second in the MVP voting behind Soto. Mike hit 53 home runs, drove in 140 runs, batted .349, and had a 1087 OPS. The Yankees won 101 games, good enough to clinch the top seed again. Thorman's last 2 postseasons were disappointing. However, this one was different. Mike had one of the best postseasons in baseball history. He hit 2 home runs in the division series against the Blue Jays and 4 home runs against the White Sox, which helped the Yankees push to another World Series appearance. In only his 5th season with the team, Thorman had a chance to win his 3rd ring. Thorman's amazing performance didn't stop in the World Series. He continued to rake against the San Francisco Giants in the short 4-game series, hitting 3 home runs and driving in 11 runs. New York would take home another World Series championship, marking their 30th all-time as a franchise. Before Thorman ever signed with the Yankees, they had gone 20 years without a title, and now they had won their 3rd championship in 5 years. Thorman later said in an interview that he dedicated this championship to his brother John, who had passed 10 months earlier. 2034 was another great year for Thorman. He mashed his way through another historic season. In August, he hit his 500th career home run. He became the 2nd youngest player to hit 500 home runs. The youngest ever was Alex Rodriguez. He finished with 50 home runs, 143 RBIs, and his OPS was .1051.